to bring this project to you today, and because it's simply Saturday, we are going to be doing the simplest version of this pocket card. But I do want you to stick with me to the end of the video because I am going to show you how to turn it into a gift card holder as well. Now, if you watch lots of videos and you follow other crafters, you may see a similar project to this, but today I am showing you my version. So we are going to be using some products that coordinate with each other. So we are going to be using the Labeled with Love stamp set. Also, its coordinating punch. And I want to mention something. If you happen to have the annual catalog, you'll see on page 58 that this particular stamp set is available as a bundle with either the punch or the dies. Now that's kind of unique for it to be offered with one or the other. In my crazy case, I knew that I would be using the punch and I would also want the dies. So I ordered it as a bundle and then I added on the dies as a separate item. But I thought that that was worth pointing out to you. You can also definitely find these products when you shop the online store. Another item that I'm using is a large circle punch. And so you can, by going to the online store and shopping for punches, see what circle punch might be available at any given time. Sometimes those come and go. Sometimes they're temporarily unavailable because they've sold out and will be coming back. So I will let you grab a punch from your collection or shop for one in the online store. All right, let's talk about our papers. I'm using a piece of retired designer series paper. This piece measures 6 inches by 9 1/4. You can use, of course, whatever paper you have handy. If you are using a paper that has a direction, you will want to put it into your Simply Scored exactly as I have my paper laid out. So the 6-inch side is here and the 9 1/4 inch side is here. All right, I'm going to be making 2 score lines, one at 2 3/4 inches and one at 7 inches. Then you'll take your paper and turn it a 1/4 turn clockwise and score once at 5/8 of an inch. And the reason I mentioned about directional patterned paper is that small score line that you just made down here at 5/8, that is going to be the bottom of your project. Okay, now that we've got our score lines in place, we're going to do some folding. So I've got my bone folder and I'm going to fold on each of those score lines and really burnish that crease. And this one. All right, now let me show you how this is going to fold. One side is going to go over and the other side is the second flap. So we're going to do some cutting on this bottom edge that you can just do with any pair of scissors or you can grab your paper snips. This center portion is going to be the tab that seals my pocket shut. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make a little angle here, right to that corner. And I'm going to make a little angle here, right to that corner. All right, we've made our little snip here and here. And now what I'm going to do is remove this portion, but I do want to remove the entire portion, including the score line. So I'm just going to take an extra tiny bite just above that score line as I'm cutting that piece out. I'm getting kind of hung up there. All right, so that comes out and we're going to do the same thing to the side. And I want to take the score line off. All right, like so. That's it. Okay, I'm going to take some, let's see, I'm going to use multi-purpose glue. My flaps are going to go this way. You have one flap that's a little bit more narrow than the other one. There's no real rules here. I usually fold the smaller flap down first and then the larger flap, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to put a line of glue right here on the edge of that and also a little glue here and seal those flaps shut. All right, and then a little bit of glue here to seal this shut, and it goes nice and smoothly because we took out that little chunk with a little extra. So there's no extra bulk left in this flap down here, like so. All right, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a little opening here, and that's what I'm using the circle punch for. So I'm just going to take my circle punch and center it between the right and the left side. Now let's point out, this is on the open end, okay? We have our sealed end and our open end, and I'm going to be taking this punch out of the open end. So I'm just looking at the right and the left, and I only want to bite. I'm not taking the whole circle. I'm not even doing half. I'm just taking about a third and punching that out. Okay, so that gives us a nice little opening where we can pull our note card out. All right, let's do the note card. We're going to do some stamping on this piece. And that is where our labeled with love stamps come in. So I think that I will use Enjoy Today. And I'm going to stamp that in Calypso Coral. Which is where? Here it is. Okay, we're going to stamp Calypso Coral. And then I really like the butterfly from this stamp set. So let's also do a butterfly. And we're going to use the butterfly on the front of the card as well. Now this is two-step stamping. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp the outline of my butterfly, and I'm still using Calypso Coral. That's going to go right here. And then I'm going to take the center part of that butterfly, and I'm going to use Fresh Freesia, but I'm going to use a lighter version, and we're going to do that by stamping some of the ink off onto some scratch paper. So here I just have a piece of scratch paper. I'm going to ink up my butterfly wings, stamp it onto the scratch paper, and then line it up right here in my butterfly. Let me make sure you can see what I'm doing. And stamp the inside of my butterfly. So it's very light and delicate. Okay, there's that. I will next attach this piece to that Calypso Coral cardstock that we talked about at the beginning. Like so. Okay, I'm going to set that aside so that we can create the decoration for the front of our pocket. So what I did ahead of time is I went ahead and grabbed Nested Essentials dies, and I used one of these rounded rectangles to die cut this piece out. And then I'm also going to take a white scrap, and this is where that labeled with love punch comes in. So I'm going to punch this. All right, at this point, let me give you a second clue if you're following along with my secret clues today. This is your second clue. Okay, so on that little punch that we just popped out, I am going to stamp Happy Birthday, also from that same stamp set. So we're sticking only with that one stamp set today. And I'll be stamping this with Fresh Freesia, this time just full strength right from the ink pad. I'm not going to stamp any ink off. Like so. And then we're going to do one more butterfly to add to our front decoration here. So I'm going to bring that little scrap back in, and let's do the butterfly process one more time. Now, you can do the stamping process either way. So let me reverse it right now so you can see what that would be. So on the first one, I did the butterfly wings, the outline first, and then I added the center. This time I'm going to do the center first. And then I'm going to add the butterfly wings after that. So it really doesn't matter which way you do it, but you might find when you are stamping that you have a preference. My preference is typically to do the outline first and then add the detail on the inside, but you can see that this totally works either way. And there's our butterfly. Now, because this stamp set comes with or is available with the coordinating punch or dies, it does not have other dies. So instead of die cutting our butterfly, we're just going to fussy cut with our scissors. So I've got my paper snips here, and without too much effort and no stress, I'm just going to cut around the butterfly shape. When I do fussy cut, I like to leave a tiny bit of white around the image. Now that is personal preference also. So you're welcome to do it that way, or you can cut right along the edge of the image if you think that that looks better. All right, rounding around the second wing here. And then we're ready to put the project together. Okay, for starters, let's attach this white piece, our stamped tag, to the larger Calypso Coral tag. And I'm going to go ahead and center it. I did the words off center by design, so that leaves us a nice little area over here. Okay, and that is where I'm going to put my butterfly, and I think we'll use a dimensional. If you don't have dimensionals handy, then you can just attach it with whatever glue you're using. All right. And I've got a lot of space over here, so I can kind of find where I want it to be. I'm actually going to let it hang off the corner of the tag a little bit, like that. And then we'll put an embellishment right there in that extra white space. All right, let's see what we've got. We have our pocket. We've got our little tag or decoration that's going to go on the front. I'm going to add some ribbon to this. And so because of this kind of peachy color in here, which may have been pale papaya, but I'm not sure that I'm remembering, I do have some pale papaya retired ribbon, so I'm going to use that. But clearly you can pull your fresh freesia or your Calypso Coral from here as well. So I'm going to take my ribbon and just wrap it around this little pocket. And I'm going to tie a bow. But if you are bow tying challenged and don't want to, you could just tie a knot right here and it would look super cute. In fact, let's do that today. Let's save some ribbon. Let's just tie a knot because I have other samples that I'm going to show you where I did tie a bow. So let's just do it. Let's do a knot. All right, and I do want it over towards the right side of my pocket. Like this. All right, you know what is great is when you're stamping with a friend and you have somebody who can help hold the middle of your knot or your bow, so you're not having to finagle it. That's one great reason about stamping with a friend. I'm sure that you can think of about 10 other good reasons. All right, so there's our knot. All right, a lot of times people prefer the knot instead of having to struggle with making a bow. And then I'll just snip that off like so. All right, there is our ribbon treatment. And I'll go ahead and add this little tag. And same thing, you could just put it flat with some tear and tape, or you could pop it up with some dimensionals, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull this over even a little bit more, grab some dimensionals. I'll put 4 on the back of this. Okay, and I know that you've seen people do this. Sometimes you can just peel it off with your fingernail. You can also take your pick tool to pull these backings off, especially if you have trouble getting those backings off. You can just kind of pierce it and pop it off like that. So that's also another great way to remove those backings. All right, now we're gonna put that on. And I'm going to kind of have it straddling my ribbon a little bit. Like so. All right, super cute. There is the front of our pocket. Let's just grab, in keeping with Simply Saturday, let's just grab a rhinestone. We won't get too fancy with our embellishments, and I'll use one of these larger ones and place it right here. And now let me show you how that simple note card is just going to slide into your pocket like so, and it is ready to give or send to a friend. All right, so we've got our little pocket note card, and as I mentioned, let me show you how to turn this into a gift card holder. So I'm going to give you the third clue. Here's number 3 of our secret clues today. Here is clue number 3 if you're collecting clues. And then let me show you how to turn this into a gift card holder. We're going to begin the same way. So I've got my 6-inch paper by 9 1/4. And I'm going to do the same scoring that we did in the beginning. So at 2 3/4, at 7 inches, do a quarter turn clockwise, and score at 5/8 of an inch. This is kind of fun because you're getting to see the whole pocket be made again. All right, I'm going to score. We've already scored. I'm going to burnish my folds with my bone folder. I'm going to cut the bottom a little bit differently this time. If you are a beginner crafter, this might make more sense to you than the way that I did it before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this rectangle completely. So I'm going to make a snip here, and then I'm going to remove the rectangle along with its score line and get rid of it. And I'm going to do it again, cutting here on the score line, and here removing the whole piece with its score line. Then I'll take this tab that is left and put my little angles, okay? So in the beginning one, I just did this extra step all at once. I did a snip, and then I just snipped it again. I did a snip and then removed that tab. So this time I just removed the pieces, and now I'm putting an angle on the remaining tab. All right, so I hope that that is clear. And let's seal that up. All right, so far we've done the same thing. We're also going to take a punch, that circle punch, and remove a little semicircle from here. All right, this is where it's going to change. I have another piece of matching designer series paper, and this piece measures 2 inches by 5 inches. What I'm going to do on this piece is also punch a piece out of this to kind of mimic what I've already done here on the pocket. So it looks like that. Now this time I'm going to take my white cardstock. This is the note card part, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue just down here at the very bottom of this 2 inch by 5 inch piece that I punched, just to hold it still. and I'm going to glue it to my note card. And I do kind of want to center that little punched part. So I'm looking here and here. That looks pretty centered to me. And I also want this flush with the edge of the white cardstock, which that is. Then I'm going to flip it over, fold those designer series paper tabs, and those are going to get glued down. All right, so now instead of just a note card that's going to slide into my pocket, I have created an additional pocket for a gift card. So this is where your gift card can slide down into there. Okay, now let's decorate it. Keep in mind that when either your note card or, oh wait, we need to add this to a piece of cardstock. Almost forgot. So this time I did choose a complementary color. So instead of the Calypso Coral, I grabbed a piece of pale peach or maybe peach pie. And I'm going to, I think it's papaya because that is the ribbon that we used. Either way, either one of those pretty peachy colors. And so now this piece that's going to fit down into the pocket just has a little bit of contrast instead of the Calypso Coral. Okay, so that is all attached. Again, this is where my note card is going to go, my gift card. And then this is going to slide down into the pocket. Like so. Now we're going to do the decorating as we did before. We just want to avoid that area because it looks nice and clean that way. So just kind of keep that in mind that you don't want any of your stamping up here in that area. We've got the gift card designer series paper pocket here. So in light of that, I would just either stamp a little less or just be creative where you're going to put your stamping. So I'll just put the enjoy today words kind of like right there. All right, and then of course the front you can decorate in addition to the inside, just like we finished on the first one that held a note card. All right, let me tuck that in like so. Let's bring our note card back out. Let's bring a finished one of the gift card holders. And in this case, I used a die to cut out a different shape. So instead of a circle, you can see that I've got that unique shape. And then I did the same thing on my gift card piece, this time stamping the butterfly on the inside. So there we've got just the note card, the gift card holder, there's the bow, and here's a knot. And then I've got a couple others to show you. And before I show you those, let me give you your fourth and final clue today. Here is our secret clue. And I'm still going to tell you what you're going to do with those clues. There were 4 clues and they've been given in order. And we'll come right back to that. All right, here is another one that I did with this beautiful Mediterranean paper. And in this case, I used that same die that we used in the Calypso Coral on the first one. That's what I used to cut out this shape here. So it gives you a different look. And I used a set of circles here for the front. And there's the inside. And then I did another one for you that looks like this with a different paper, different shaped dies for the front, the ribbon treatment a little bit different as well, and then my gift card holder that comes out. This is where your gift card goes. Super cute. All right, I'm going to put all of those here for you to take one last look at, and let's talk about the secret clues. So I did give you 4 clues today, and when you put them in order, this is what they look like. And what this is my current host code for the month of July. What I'm offering is 2 different things. If you place an order at my online store of any amount, I would ask you to use this host code, and after I see that your order has been placed, I will mail you 3 hand-stamped cards from my recent collection. I make so many cards that sometimes I end up with more than I can actually use, even though I send a lot of cards out. So if you use this host code during the month of July to place any size order, I will also mail you 3 of my hand-stamped cards. If you are not going to be placing an order, but would like to leave me a comment on this video, I would love it if you'd include that host code or the secret code that I gave you today somewhere in your message, just to show me that you watched and listened all the way to the end. And I so appreciate you doing that. Until next time, hugs and happy stamping from me. And do be sure to open the description box below this video. I'll put a lot of helpful information for you there. See you next time.